All right, is it on? Is it on straight? All right, it looks a little dark. Hold on. Let's change this. 200. Ooh, hey, Casper the Friendly Ghost, what's up? All right, let's bump it down to 125. Looks great. What's shaking bacon? I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio. This is where I do food photography. So if you are into that, you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And today we are talking about my favorite summertime treat. My favorite all the time treat is ice cream. But of course we think ice cream and we're like, oh my gosh, that's so stressful because it melts and it turns into a puddle in like no time flat. But I have had the opportunity of working with a number of different ice cream brands over the years. And so I wanted to share with you some of my favorite tips and tricks for dealing with ice cream in a food styling situation so that you can rock it out like a pro. So if that sounds good to you, you stick around. All right, so now real quick, before we get into the tips, I just have to give like a little caveat because well, every episode there has to be some sort of like warning, don't do this, FYI. So for this episode and specifically for ice cream, although really, for any food in general, if you are shooting something for commercial purposes, so that means that the images you are taking are being used to advertise something, that whatever the hero of that image is, so whatever you're selling needs to be the real food. So if we are selling ice cream with these images and it is for an ice cream brand, we need to make sure to use the real thing, because of course people love to talk about fake ice cream, and we will get into fake ice cream a little bit later in this episode, but make sure that if you are shooting for an ice cream brand, you are using the real thing. It's called truth in advertising. And so before anybody gets in like deep trouble or hot water with the FCC, I just want to make sure to put that out there. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, the very first tip, the tip that I have learned the hard way multiple times, actually, now that I think about it, is to make sure that your ice cream before you start scooping it is frozen to the proper temperature. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, perfect example of what not to do was when I had a shoot for a client and they sent me the product in the mail like overnight on dry ice, and so then I stuck it in my deep freezer because I have both a regular freezer and a deep freezer, and I was thinking, well, colder is better, right? More is more every time. Well, not in the case of freezing, because of course maybe you already know what happened is that I pulled that ice cream out of the deep freezer, went to go scoop it, and it was hard as a rock. It was not scoopable, and so then I had to let it defrost, but then it got a little too defrosted and then it was a mess. So the best way to go about it is that when you get the ice cream, whether that's from the grocery store or it gets sent to you or you're making it homemade, is to stick it in a regular freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit and let it hang out for at least 24 hours. You do not want to be rushing into that ice cream, because then the problem is on the other end of the spectrum is if you try to scoop that before it's fully frozen through and you're going to have kind of softer edges on it, you're not going to get that beautiful like ripply textury bark on the outside of the scoops, and it's just going to get a little too wet and it won't look quite as pristine. So you just want to make sure when you get that ice cream home, let it sit for 24 hours at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. You're looking for that perfect scoopable texture. All right, now tip number 2 has to do with the actual scooper itself that you're using. And before I show you the one that I'm using, I'm going to put it out there that I think this is sort of a personal preference kind of thing and has maybe something to do with your wrists and who knows. Anyway, this is the scooper that I like to use. It is old school, it is low key, it is nothing fancy. It's got no like little release triggers or anything like that on it. It's just an old fashioned ice cream. Well, it's not even old fashioned. I think I bought this circa 2012, but it is not fancy by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I'm sure that there are people out there who are like, no, you have to use the paddle kind. And then there's other people who want one of the little release dealies, kind of like one of these. Although I'm going to be honest, I don't like these for that. I use these for scooping other stuff. But when it comes to scooping ice cream, I just find that this doesn't get me that beautiful kind of curl that you want, right? Like you want that curling action. You want it to kind of gather along the edges, get that little extra bit of texture. And I just find that I get the right amount of leverage, flexibility, and what I need from just a simple little guy like this. So then tip number 3, once you have scooped the ice cream and you have all the scoops that you need, and I recommend scooping more than you think you're gonna need, because say you're doing like a 2-scoop ice cream sundae, well, you never know, it's ice cream, you might need to do multiple takes and multiple setups. So, for a 2-scoop sundae, maybe 10, 12 scoops, it never hurts to have extra, right? But once you have gotten all of those properly formed scoops and you're happy with it, then you rush that on over to the freezer. And this is when it doesn't hurt actually to have a deep freezer that can get those super rock hard and cold. So we are super duper freezing the actual scoops themselves, before then we're putting them on set and starting to photograph them. And now for me, I like to keep those in the freezer to refreeze for at least 2 hours just to ensure that they are super duper frozen so that when we do put them on set, they don't melt quite as quickly. I mean, they're still gonna melt, that's still gonna happen because it's not magic, but it's gonna help slow the melting process. And one little bonus piece of information is that a higher fat content ice cream will melt a lot quicker than a lower fat ice cream. So those cheaper ice creams are actually easier for styling. All right, so I think that's 3 tips so far. So this is tip number 4, is that it never hurts to have some dry ice around, just in case you want to do some extra manipulation of those scoops, and also to keep everything cold on set while you're working with it. And dry ice, to be honest, is pretty cheap. I got it for $1.50 a pound at my local Smart and Final. Usually the grocery stores have it, but do be fair warned. Again, there's so many warnings in this video. What is going on? But be warned, if you've never worked with dry ice before, that it can physically burn you. So don't touch it with your bare hands. Make sure to, use some sort of oven mitts or towels or something just to protect yourself. And dry ice is a lot of fun too for an ice cream shoot, just because it can also add extra ambiance if you want to get some of that like smoky sort of factor going on, like you've just opened up the freezer door and all that cold air comes rushing out. Dry ice can help make that happen. So then of course, I think it goes without saying that you need to set up your scene prior to introducing the ice cream, that you get everything staged, you know where the lighting is going to be, you've got all the test shots taken, you know how it's going to work, so that then when you are ready to go, you go ahead and put that ice cream in and you're ready to take the shot. But of course, if you're like me and you're like most people, is you'll put that hero in, right? The ice cream gets placed, and then you might want to just kind of tweak a couple things and maybe change the angle. And meanwhile, you've got hot lights going on, and you got all sorts of stuff going on, and that ice cream might start to drip just a little bit. So the surefire way to prevent drips is to get yourself some super freeze spray. And don't point this at your face, but it is really helpful for catching those little drips that are gonna just inevitably happen. Now, this is not gonna refreeze the entire like scoop of ice cream, but just a little like that. That'll catch those drips, no problemo. And you can get this stuff on Amazon. I will be sure to link it down below along with all the other gear and shenanigans and stuff I've talked about in this video, so. All right, and last but certainly not least, probably referred to most often when I tell people that I'm a food photographer, one of the first things they always ask is the food real? Do you ever shoot with fake food? And for me, I have always shot real food because I always thought real food looked better, it looked more authentic, and a lot of times fake food can well look kind of fake. But my mind was recently changed because I was on Instagram scrolling through the feed, doing what you do, right? And I see this picture from my friend Kim, who's a very talented food photographer, and it was a slice of rainbow cake with a scoop of ice cream on it, and it said in the caption, fake ice cream. I'm like, shut the front door, Kim. What kind of crazy concoction are you rocking over there? Because seriously, it looked so real. So what do I have to do? Well, of course, I got to call up Kim and say, Kim, I need the recipe.
So that was fake ice cream, huh?
It was fake ice cream. Another photographer friend of mine happened to be there that day, and he was like, I'm going to bring this stuff to make fake ice cream to go with your cake. And I was like, ooh, fake ice cream. That's new to me. But I love it.
But so this recipe at this point is very well tested, you would say.
Yes. I've used it in I've used it in a magazine shoot. We colored it for a magazine shoot to make like little waffle sandwiches. And trying to think, I've made it like 4 or 5 times. And so it's always.
So if you can tell us, what is the secret? What are the ingredients? What goes into it?
It's only 2 things. It is a couple cans of just whatever this is, canned frosting.
Yes.
And confectioners sugar.
That's it.
That's it. And I just I put it in my KitchenAid mixer and let it go. So and mix it all.
What's the ratio of that? What's the frosting to sugar ratio?
It kind of depends on how moldable you want it. I like to have a little bit of play in it, so I don't use as much. But today when I made it, I did 2 cans to about 5 cups of frosting. That's the good thing is it doesn't taste bad. So if you happen to like lick your fingers when you're making it, it doesn't taste bad, but it is like complete sugar.
That's awesome because what's really nice, and one of those things that we look for in the texture of ice cream is that it kind of does that textural thing where it kind of flakes up a little bit, and yours really does a great job of doing that.
Yeah, thank you. It's the barking is what they call it. Like for instance, like this ice cream, it's hard to see it, but like you can actually create that by scraping it to make it look even more like frosty. And
So you've got sort of a setup. You want to show us what you've set up the ice cream? What's the scenario? How you've staged it today?
yes, I've got a couple of different scenarios, and I'm going to show.
Know it.
So, on Pinterest, a lot of times you see the loaf pan with ice cream in it.
Yeah.
So that works well for this. I have my grandmother's ice cream scoop, and you can literally just scoop it out like you would ice cream, and then you can take it and put it on a plate. I put a little bit of smear on there to start with. It's kind of hard to do one-handed.
Yeah, you got to do the one-handed. This is an extra level of difficulty today.
I know. Scoop it, and I had a little bit of smear there, and then you can kind of take it with your fingers and just mold it to however you want it.
Yeah,
and then
give it a little bit of that like natural sort of feel that you get when you scoop ice cream.
Right, exactly. And see, there's the bark. You can kind of see the bark in there.
Yeah.
And then you can take, like, I have a little dish of heavy cream and just kind of like dribble it on
there. There it is.
Ice cream, which is
Get
awesome.
those specular highlights going on fleek.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I did just a waffle cone, and it's a little broken, but it still looks like you could just pick that up and eat it, And
it's not going to change. It's not going to do anything. It can sit there for an hour and be totally cool.
Yep, it can sit there. It can really sit there for days. It will get hard if you let it sit too long. Either. And you can also color it with food coloring if you want different flavors. Use the gel food coloring, and that way it won't make it too wet.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then I like this dish of ice cream and put a cherry on it, and I put a little cream in there to make it look like it was melting.
Kim, this is a beautiful art that you're doing here. This is absolutely amazing. And your ice cream scoop collection, I am positively jealous.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks.
Those are beautiful pieces.
Yeah, I saw that you got one off of eBay, and I was like, that looks like the one I have. And I got it off of eBay too. So
That's exactly the same one. It just, they got so much character. But that one of your grandma's with the pink handle, oh my gosh.
I just found that this weekend. I was in there. They have this shed where my dad has all their stuff. And I was like, ooh, I'm taking my ice cream scoop.
Say, how excited did you get when you saw that?
Excited.
Swag, I love it. So if people want to find you and follow you, because you create beautiful, delicious images that are definitely inspiring, give people some really fun ideas, where can we follow you? KimbroDaniels.com is my website, and there's a link to my blog on there. Excellent.
So hopefully you got some fun ideas here today, maybe a little bit of inspiration. Maybe you're ready to go run out and make yourself an ice cream sundae. And if you do, please take some pictures. I would love to see them over on Instagram. I am at The Bite Shop. Feel free to tag me, because then I can give you those little double thumbs up, big old heart eyes, and all the emoji faces and all the things. But a big thank you to Kim for being a guest in today's video, and thank you to you for stopping by. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic day. Hope you stay out of trouble. And I'll see you soon, okay? Bye. 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 What is going on with my bangs today? I need a haircut. Yvonne, I need a haircut. All right, don't shoot it in your face. Duh. Oh, it minimized static voltage. Cool. Why does it look like I have a helmet on today? Do I have a helmet on? My hair. They say I'm high maintenance. Where'd you give me that idea?